Hi, I'm Eric. I've been streaming horror games all October. It's the sixth day in a row. Doing pretty good. Maintaining my pace. Morbid Coffee's here hanging out with me again.
Yeah, I'm playing another horror game. A Hat in Time.
That's pretty scary. That's what I've heard about that
Play
game.
as a little girl
It
that
has JonTron
smooches.
in it, and racism is the
It
scariest thing of
is, you
all.
get to beat JonTron with an umbrella, so
All right, well, that's something. Tonight, I'm going to play some Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, which was a really good game in 1996. It is a 2D action adventure kind of a thing about vampires. The hero is, I don't know, quote unquote, an anti-hero or a morally ambiguous main character, which was like a really fascinating concept back in 1996. It just wasn't a thing that you saw a lot in, especially in console games. This was a PlayStation game. I think it was eventually ported to the PC, but
is she a sexy vampire though?
no, actually, this game is really dirty, and the vampires are very unpleasant, and basically everybody's an asshole in this game. Like, this game is, like, at least 10 years ahead of its time, because it wasn't until the mid-2000s that the rest of video games caught up, and everybody was kind of... I don't know, I guess Final Fantasy VII, everybody's kind of an asshole. Or at least your main character is unreliable in that game.
I feel like everyone in Final Fantasy was just incomprehensible.
Yeah, I mean that's also true. Anyway, this game, like I said, this was a pretty interesting concept in 1996. I didn't play it until like 97 or 98 because it went from full price game to bargain bin game pretty quickly. And this is also the first Silicon Knights game. It's covered in logos for Activision and Crystal Dynamics, and I think eventually there would be a court case between Dennis Dyack and Silicon Knights and Crystal Dynamics over who actually owned the IP, because Silicon Knights had nothing to do with this game's sequels, which were the Soul Reaver Legacy of Kain games. And I think there was eventually a Blood Omen 2 and maybe something else that wasn't related, but the Soul Reaver games, which I might play the first Soul Reaver game at some point this month, was one of the first things that Amy Hennig worked on, who eventually would go on to help write a bunch of games for Naughty Dog, like the Uncharted games, and I think she worked on The Last of Us too, right? She did a bunch of stuff for Naughty Dog. And some of the Oddworld stuff too, I think.
Those are good games.
Yeah, I mean, she went on to write a lot of really good games. I don't think she didn't work on this game. She worked on the Soul Reaver games, which I think the Soul Reaver games were actually originally not related to the Legacy of Kain series, and then based on the success of this game, they sort of shoehorned that into that. But anyway, this game has some fucking 1996 ass FMV in it, as you can see, where this vampire is attacking this church. I think I'm trying to remember the story in this game, but
It's full motion vampire.
it's true. Also, Anna Gunn is in this game, she played. Oh fuck, I can't remember her name, but she played the wife in Breaking Bad. I can't remember the husband's name either, and he's the main character. So, but she put on a really fantastic performance in that, and she plays Ariel, who I think is like an angel in this game. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember the story that well. There's like 9 pillars that are... Oh, there they are right there. There's like 9 pillars, and they all represent some seal keeping some kind of ancient psychotic evil from taking over the land. But the land is already in turmoil because there's a war between the humans and the vampires. And whatever...
Let's be on your way, stranger.
Whatever ancient evil is trying to come in has corrupted the guardians of the pillars,
I can
and
reward
so
you well, for I am of noble blood. I stay open for no man in these
I
dark
don't think you get
times.
much of.
Things
I don't
come
think
with
this
the
game
night that
fills
no
in
sane
many of the
man would
details until
welcome.
much later
And
through
so I
like
left.
huge exposition dumps.
Cold of heart and soul,
But
forced to the road, and the long, bitter night.
so you play as Kain, who is this nobleman here. He wants to stay in this bar and get another drink, but the barkeep won't let him because bad shit happens at night. So I'm gonna go outside here. One of the biggest downsides of this game, even in 1996, with the load times, which were pretty ridiculous.
Not the type of game I was expecting.
Hey, Victor!
Now this is a very this looks like a PC game, honestly.
End it.
So you walk outside the bar and you're murdered by brigands, and then this weird wizard guy has you held up over like some kind of weird hellfires and offers you a chance at immortality in order to take vengeance. But the deal is really so that he can control you and try to force you to. He turns you into a vampire so that way you can defeat the corrupted guardians of the pillars and keep whatever weird evil is trying to get in from getting out.
If I was in heaven or hell. All I wanted was to kill my assassins.
It is a plot that is convoluted by any standards, but
The necromancer
just all the different moving pieces was pretty
and like a fool.
interesting, and the seriousness that it took itself with was pretty novel in those days.
Not even.
Because even the Final Fantasy VII was a full year out basically from this, and even games that had complicated or complex stories like JRPGs were pretty, pretty lighthearted, and the cast usually was pretty, jaunty and excited to, go out and be in the world. And this guy's kind of a d-bag.
I the pain of a new existence in a dank womb of darkness and decay.
So you wake up as a vampire with this cool sword. I think this has, you can zoom in and zoom out. I want to say there's a button I can hit to zoom all the way out. Okay, there we go. So there's like a map view of the rooms. X, I think you can remap the controls to whatever you want. There's also this item screen where you have you get different kinds of armor, different weapons, different spells that you can equip, and I think you have to hold the button and then hit the direction on the D-pad to use the various spells, if I remember correctly. Also, there's that thing on the blood vial in the UI on the right-hand side of the screen. Like, that slowly ticks down over time, so you have to suck the blood of townspeople in order to stay alive. It's also your health meter, so it'll tick down faster when you take damage.
The spell enables me to travel to my crypt, where the soil of my grave provides me respite. I often resort to this when I am weak and need nourishment.
I feel like this might be the only game with an actual vampire role-playing mechanic where you have to suck blood.
So there's
Did
Vampire...
Skyrim have that, or no?
I think Skyrim does when you turn into a vampire. There's Vampire the Masquerade, which is an RPG that was put on the Source engine. It was kind of a buggy mess, but that game is really fucking good. That's
But did any of them require you to suck the blood, or was it just hey, you're a vampire, you can do it now?
In Vampire the Masquerade, you do have to suck blood, and there's actually a mechanic in that game that tracks... depending on there's a bunch of different vampire clans in that, and some of them actually take damage if the people whose blood you're sucking is not of a certain class, and there are other ones that I think the Masquerade referenced in the title is the idea that normal people don't know about vampires, so you have to be careful not to get caught while sucking blood, or else you'll break the Masquerade and the other vampires will come after you. But that didn't come out until around the time Half-Life 2 came out. It's 2004, I want to say. So this is a pretty novel idea in 1996 for sure.
This ancient vial bears with it a dark gift indeed, for with it my life force is increased. These ancient symbols of power contain
I'll just
raw
leave her tied
magical
up there.
energy that increases my own capacity to summon energy for the
Look at this
spawning of
skeleton.
spells.
Spooky.
It's pretty
For
spooky.
Halloween.
There's always skeletons.
Why is
Hmm.
everything in this room look like a disco?
Because vampires need to dance. You should play Vampire the Masquerade if you want to see vampires at the disco. Because there is
Killed
there
that one
was
skeleton.
there was
that
a
was just
little
party.
dope ass
Resume my journey when my
nightclub
weariness
scene in
abated.
Vampire the Masquerade.
Maybe you should play it for the 31 Days of Horror.
I did. I actually streamed some of that last year. I streamed the opening of that game. I loved that game when I played it in 2006 or 2007 or whatever it was. I got around to playing it. Also, this game is kind of a memory card hog. I think it takes up 2 slots.
Jeez.
Game saved. What's the occupied? Must be, what PlayStation game was I playing recently? Oh, one of those is Mr. Domino.
Yeah,
I forget what the other one is.
it's a great horror game.
Yeah, it's a very scary game.
It's like the Mr. Domino creepypasta. No one can stop him except you.
But this is also one of the few, like, 2D PlayStation games. This came out
The world
before
had
they
changed
instituted the
my
policy of
I had not expected such cruelty from the light, for in the embrace of the sun I could find no comfort, only malice. This would change in time for the worse, along with other things.
find no comfort in the
When
night,
rainfall
only
comes,
malice.
vampires are wise to find shelter from its acidic touch.
Also, the voice acting in this game is really fucking good. Which, that was also a true novelty in 1996, pretty much across the board. Even in the PC space, there was a lot of campy, shitty fucking PC voice acting performances. Like, this is the era of, like, the Resident Evils and the...
I was always fond of like the novel but kind of bad like 90s anime dubbing that a lot of PlayStation games had.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's some fucking terrible...
Like, I think that's
There's a certain charm to some of them, like Resident
most
Evil, but...
most of the reason why I like Mega Man Legends so much is because of the voice acting. Because it's just campy to a certain point where it's good.
Yeah, you're right. Like, the colored lighting in this is pretty. I guess that's a purple orb. That's why it's purple like that.
That room with the skeleton was just going through all the colors.
Yeah. Let's see what's in this crypt, because I can't really be outside with what's raining out. I also think this game has a day-night cycle, and like a moon cycle. So like your character is stronger when the moon is full and weaker when the
Well, is
moon
that what the
is-
thing in the bottom right is?
What's
Because
that?
that looks like a clock.
Yes, that's the clock and what the moon is. So your character is stronger and weaker depending on what time of the month. And
It's that time of the month for vampires.
I wonder if I have to hit these switches in a certain order. Middle. Okay, there we go. Must be these are grave robbers. These guys with the shovels.
These curious devices
Also, I'm
hurl
pretty sure
bolts
if
of
you
whirling energy and
just wait
eviscerate
around
my
long
human
enough, your
enemies
life will
by
just
stripping
drain.
ragged flesh from blood-stained bone.
I wonder if there's options. I wonder if there's subtitles in this game.
Why
The
do
heart
skeletons
of
bleed?
darkness.
I don't think they weren't bleeding, were they? They shoot off green sparks, I think.
It looked like they shoot off green blood.
No, it's like green energy.
Hmm.
Status, load game. The Dark Diary. I think we should check that out. Oh, it's just the various FMV. cutscenes, which I think I'll skip watching those. Yeah, there's no, unfortunately.
That's where you gotta download a 100% save and just go through all of them.
Slangs, medals, mutilations, secrets.
Poverty Game Night says the skeletons are spewing green bone juice.
Grind them up. Make a delicious skeleton shake. Prestige. Welp? I don't know what the next prestige level is. I hope if I click exit, it doesn't exit to the main menu and just takes me back to the game.
Played 5 days, 1 hour. What? That can't be right.
Yeah, we've actually been here since last Saturday, and now it's Thursday.
31 days of Legacy Kain.
I don't remember. I think this game was pretty lengthy, like 20-ish hours, maybe.
It's a PC game, probably.
It's been a while. But I think... So, I think I may have skipped over it, but the opening of this game has a thing that, like, declares it the original work of Silicon Knights. And the lawsuit that would ensue after this game came out, and Crystal Dynamics, like Dennis Dyack and the guy, one of the lead guys from Crystal Dynamics, like formed a relationship at a party, and that was how Silicon Knights got the funding to make this game in the first place. Like they both agree. I want to say that like the tagline of this game was that it was a game designed to be played by adults, which was a pretty unheard of concept back in 1996. Like,
that sounds like a Dennis Dyack thing.
Yeah, it's a super crazy thing to think that there was a time when it was just like, I don't know, can adults play and enjoy video games? Who knows?
No.
Yeah, as it turns out, the answer is no. They're for kids.
They were only allowed to play games in like 2005.
Yeah.
In the history books. Stay in school.
As it turns out, video games, it was always cool if adults played video games. It was just the adults themselves that had a problem with it.
It wasn't cool to play video games until cell phones came out, and then everyone was playing video games,
The truth is,
even though
it's
they didn't want to
still
admit it.
Not cool to play video games.
You don't understand. This isn't the same as Angry Birds.
I mean, that much is true. I guess I finished this dungeon. I guess I looped back around. It's still raining out, and it's still night out, even though it's still been playing for 5 days, so...
Hunger and weakness are no bar to vengeance's call.
Oh,
I would
actually, I
find my
came out a
slayers
different...
and send them
Okay.
back whence I came.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So these are the guys that killed me. These are the brigands or the assassins or whatever.
Trickery is this? Their sneering faces were forever etched upon my memory. I had crossed death for this moment. My mind was empty save for one thought. I would kill.
Man, this
There is no
this
greater
acting
relief
performance is
than
pretty
that
fucking
for
good,
vengeance
I gotta say.
sated. With my assassins dead, my quest...
Alright, I'm back. What'd I miss?
Killing the assassins, and we missed a little bit of story exposition, but that's about it. Also, spooky
it.
wolf sounds.
Of course it has a slime. Oh, that's not an enemy.
Huh? Oh no, that orb is a thing that I think
I
increases
thought that was just
my-
a slime, because it was like, yep, it's an RPG. You fight a slime.
I think that increases my my magic power, or my magic gauge.
Tis not over, Kain. These fools were merely the
Vampire
instruments of your murder, not the cause. Look to their masters. Look to the pillars.
So does that portrait on the right side of the screen ever change, or is that just there to remind you that you're a vampire?
I mean, if I remember correctly, the Diablo port to the PlayStation had a huge UI too. I think it has to do with just like a memory
resolution.
limitation. Yeah, and the
This was
resolution
where the
of
bloody
the
deed of my
PlayStation.
murder
But
took place.
I think that when you find different armor and different weapons, that changes, and it may also, like the more people whose blood you suck, the more bloodthirsty you become. I think there is like some kind of weird balance to that.
The only thing I remember about the Diablo port was you needed an entire memory card to save it.
Yeah. Not a great.
Video games.
It was it was a playable version of Diablo. Although I'll be honest, like Diablo 1 is like okay, it's a good game, but Diablo 2 is
Yeah.
where it's at. I think I should probably wait until nighttime. I think if I was really playing this game, you want to go into villages at night, I think, to avoid contact with people. I'm trying to remember if you can talk to them or not, but
Can you even go out in the daytime?
I'm out in the daytime right now.
Shouldn't you be like burning? You're a vampire.
Yeah, vampirism is a little different in this game. I think you take damage. I think you take more damage over time when you're out in the daytime. Also, it's just the morning right now, so I think you might also be weaker in the daytime, but I'm not 100% sure. I still thought you could talk to people, but
What is that zoom?
it's just a thing you can do. There's a button to zoom in.
You can play it like that too. It's like some bad Adobe Premiere effects going on there. You need the air horns when you do that. Zoom in when you suck somebody's blood. Brr, brr, brr. I don't know, I could see myself being into a game like this a couple of years ago, but I've made mention multiple times that my tolerance for long RPGs is slowly going away.
Yeah, I don't really remember how long this game. Like I said, I want to say that this was like a 20-ish hour game. I can look it up real quick. Blood Omen, time to beat. How long to beat is a really interesting and cool database. Like 13 hours, so it's not that long.
It's not that bad.
Personally, I think that the Soul Reaver games probably hold up a little bit better than this game.
Well, weren't those
particular.
like action games? Or...
Yeah, they were third-person action games. Although the first one was a very cool game that the Crystal Dynamics just kind of ran out of time and resources to make, so it ended up being like kind of a half of a game.
I remember playing one of them, and I think it was only a demo. And I want to say it may have been... I know it had 2 in the name, but I don't know if it was Legacy of Kain 2 or Soul Reaver 2.
It was probably Soul Reaver 2. Because there was a Blood Omen 2. Like, Legacy... It's weird, because, like, the Legacy of Kain is, like, the title, but it's the subtitle that carries over from game to game. So there's, like, Blood Omen and Blood Omen 2, and Soul Reaver and Soul Reaver 2.
It may have been Soul Reaver 2 then.
Probably. Soul Reaver 2 was a Dreamcast game, I think. I think it came out on the PlayStation and some other stuff too.
That sounds familiar, because... Yeah, because I know I played it on the original PlayStation, I didn't play it on Dreamcast.
Yeah, it was available for
But-
both. It was like around the transition time.
I want to say I remember seeing, or like, very close to one another, renting that and MDK, if you remember that game. That was a game.
I barely remember MDK, but I have really fond memories of MDK too.
That was the one. Well, if you played MDK2, you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I need to explain.
MDK2 was really fun.
I remember renting that game and having no idea what I was supposed to be doing.
MDK2?
That was not a game for a young kid.
No. There's a lot of different... Oh, I can't go in the water. There's a lot of different gameplay styles in MDK2. Because it was like, you play as the dude with the floaty wingsuit, and you play as the dog with the guns, and then you play as the scientist. And it's like... there's the... One is puzzle solving, one is platforming, and one is mostly third-person gunplay.
This is really weird. That's all I remember about that game.
MDK?
It was very weird, yes.
Who made those? Was that the same company that made the Citizen Kabuto game?
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up real quick. I think it is. Yeah, it was a shiny... Oh yeah, it was a Dave Perry joint, and I think that was... I think that I... Oh, I keep getting knocked out of my... Shit. Ah!
Shiny Entertainment. Interplay was the publisher.
Yeah. Okay, let me pause real quick, because I wanted to see if they were the ones, but I think that Giants was a British developed thing. I think MDK... Most author was the game was a commercial interplay. Approached Birdie to work on a sequel. However, he was in the... Okay, so yeah, Nick Birdie, who is the artist and the writer for MDK, was the artist and the writer for Giant Citizen Kabuto. So that's where the weird sense of humor came from. Anyway, yeah, Giants is a really cool game too. Or at least it was a really cool game in the early 2000s. I don't know how well that holds up. Same goes for MDK too. Rah.
I got weirded out for a second, trying to figure out why Gex was in the lower right of the stream.
Oh, yeah, because this
It's on
is
the box
Crystal
office,
Dynamics
Crystal
game. Yeah.
As daylight chases darkness,
True
the
vampire.
vampire's power wanes.
I think I might have to go back into my crypt here. I want to say that these triangles let you warp to them.
Pillars of Nosgoth.
There's the pillars.
Even in life.
Oh, if that's the
few
case,
sights
that
move me such
makes
as
it
this. I
easier,
marvel
I guess? Because I can't imagine like always having to go back.
No, there's a warp. The first thing you find in your crypt is a spell that lets you warp back at any time, and then I think you can warp to those triangles whenever you need to. So yeah, I don't know how much further I'm gonna get in this. I guess I'll get on this warp pad and see where this takes me. But this game was awesome in 1996. Just the tone of it alone set it apart from most of its contemporaries, especially in the console space. Like, you know, there's a pretty big divide in terms of, at least in that time period, between the tone and the atmosphere of games on the PC and games on consoles.
Your madness has shattered our dreams.
Oh, there's
and
Anagun.
blinded you.
Keep your distance, or I'll send you back
'Cause,
to
you
hell,
know,
spirit.
Let's say, well, we're probably still a couple years from Baldur's Gate.
I'm only a shadow of my former self.
Baldur's Gate, I think.
The
Was
balance
98.
of
Didn't they get, like-
mine. Even so,
Was
I
it?
provide
I think
the
Baldur's Gate was
answers you
1998.
Didn't they do like a Baldur's Gate on PlayStation 2
seek. There is no cure.
at some point?
That was Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. That was like a
Yeah.
hack and slash action game. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is a fucking awesome game.
Because I remember Baldur's Gate through that PlayStation 2 game. Like, I didn't really get into PC gaming until,
Yeah.
I guess, late 2000s.
Now these
Yeah,
pillars
Fallout was
have been
97,
corrupted
Baldur's Gate was
by a
98.
traitor.
So
My murder at the
It's once I was able to have a computer to actually run things. Like, I would try the occasional PC game here and there, but I was mostly a console
man, look at this
player.
FMV of him selling his eyes shit. Must restore balance. Also, this vampire kind of looks like Anagun. Or she's not a vampire, she's like an angel or a spirit or something. I'm pretty sure she reprises the role in the Soul Reaver games as well. But anyway, the voice acting in this game holds up much better than I thought it would. I think the gameplay is a little simplistic, and you know, graphically it's a little bit tough to look at. But
to destroy all of Nosgoth. Each circle member was bonded to the pillar he served. The pillars reflected the mental
I
state
mean,
of their servants, and as the
the
minds
only
of the
bad thing
circle
really is the
degenerated and
FMVs,
descended farther
and
into dementia, the
it's subjective
pillars
bad. I
crumbled.
think they're
To
great.
restore them, each member of the circle had to die.
Bad FMVs
The
are
artifact
amazing,
that served as their link to the pillar
but
had to be
They sort of
returned.
undercut the
Only
when
serious
all the
tone
pillars
of the
were
rest of the
restored,
game.
I mean, the
area
game
claimed
itself,
my
like,
curse
It looks
would
okay.
end.
like it holds up.
And so,
Yeah,
I
the
am
combat,
not playing
the
it.
combat, the hack and slash combat's pretty.
the pillar of balance.
Especially since you're not killing things and the monsters aren't loot pinatas, so you're just clicking on them until they die for no good reason. I think you can take these pillars and eventually you can.
The pillar of the mind.
The pillar of the mind. Yeah, I mean the big problem with the graphics in this game is that like a lot of games from this era, be they RPGs like Baldur's Gate or tactical games like Fallout or even strategy games like Red Alert or whatever, is just that the sprites don't really scale well, and so like these games looked really good on a 640 by 480 monitor or TV, but when you blow them up, you either have to stretch them in a way that isn't really very
I feel like
isn't very flattering, or like there's some mods for some of those games where they just like pull back the, you know, like by
camera.
expanding the resolution, they pull back the
Yeah.
camera, and then it just makes it really hard to see anything. Everything is really tiny. So
I
it's
feel like
just
the
weird.
StarCraft re-release that they did, the StarCraft remaster, sort of had those problems where like they upscaled the sprites and it just makes things seem off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard mixed things about that. Like some people love it and some people are like, this is really weird. Like I think the weirdest thing people found in that is the rocket turrets for the Turan. Have a guy spinning in a seat that you can really make out with the old sprites, but with the high res sprites, he's just spinning around doing nothing.
Yeah, it's just these
beacons
games.
serve as landmarks during my flights in bat form. Once I have committed their locations to memory, I can always return.
Yeah.
In bat form, I can travel great distances with ease. From my vantage in the heavens, no region of Nosgoth is forbidden to me.
I can turn into a bat.
It's Castlevania.
Yeah, well, the bat form is the thing that lets you teleport between those different areas.
When do you get to turn into mist?
Powder of mist. I think this will take me back to the pillars. But we get to see this other FMV. Anyway, that's Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. I don't know if I could play through this again. It's like right on the borderline. I think that if I was gonna play a game with this graphical style, I'd probably choose to spend my time with Crusader No Remorse or Planescape Torment or something along those lines. But the voice acting holds up surprisingly well. You know, the writing so far seems, you know, inscrutable, but not in a like it's poorly written kind of way, but just in its intentionally obscured kind of way. You know, the gameplay's a little boring. I don't think it, even when you get more spells and more different weapons, it never really takes on a form that's too terribly interesting. But this game was really cool in 1996, for sure.
Just don't play it if you're a kid.
Yeah, it's for adults only. Dennis Dyack would be very unhappy if any children should
He's
play
going
this
to come to your house and take the game away from you.
Right.
If he finds out you're playing it under the age of 18. It's like drinking.
Whoops. I don't want to... I should not have accidentally hit the start button because the load times have been preserved in this emulator perfectly.
Oof.
They may have even been longer on the old hardware. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely remember
know
that being
Diablo.
one of the big complaints about this game.
Diablo took like forever to load.
Yeah, PlayStation had a real RAM problem.
It's like the PlayStation, almost like the PlayStation was never meant to run PC games.
Yeah. Well, so this, I mean, this was built for the PlayStation, but just the 2D stuff, just having to keep all that stuff in memory. Let's save, and then I'll call it a night here. But I don't know. I don't know if I could recommend anybody actually go back and try and play this, but I definitely have very fond memories of it.
It's okay.
Yeah, it seems like it holds up worse than I'd hoped that it would, but better than I feared that it would.
It's PlayStation.
I'm not sure. Is that supposed to be a joke? I'm not quite sure I follow.
I could have just said Genesis.
Uh-huh. I want to use I have that power over there, but I'm not 100% sure how to use it.
Which one? The... Was it
There should be a magic
roaring?
button. That's the bat form. So the Dark Heart lets you recover some health. And these things should be like an attack spell, but I don't remember how to cast them. Oh.
The same thing as magic? Or did you figure it out?
No, I accidentally went into the other screen. There's a bunch of spells that you have to set to spell slots.
The Heart of Darkness. Flay.
Flay. Maybe you can only cast it when there's an enemy on screen.
The Sanctuary spell enables me to travel to my... Sanctuary. Flay.
Maybe I can cast it now. Let's try one more time. I had it equipped in my quick slot, but I didn't have it equipped in my
Your hands.
yeah. Let me see if I can find some enemies. Or maybe this is just a save point. Y Signal says, I've never seen the original. The original Legacy of Kain.
Probably.
This is it, man. I'm eating guys and... yeah, like I said, I don't know if you were around earlier, but this game was really good and really interesting in 1996. If nothing else, just the tone and the atmosphere of it.
That's my exact reaction. When I think Legacy Kain, my immediate reaction is, oh, the Soul Reaper games.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Soul Reaver was a third-person action game, which was really good in its time as well, but this was made by Silicon Knights, and the Soul Reaver games were made by Crystal Dynamics, so they're very different. It was like the first video game related lawsuit that Dennis Dyack was involved in, because they came up with all the lore and the world and the characters for this, and then ended up sort of signing a lot of those rights away in the publishing deal that they signed with Crystal Dynamics and Activision, I think. But I don't think they were completely aware of what they had done. I want to cast this freaking spell.
My lupine form enables me to
Oh, I can turn it to a
lightning
wolf.
and leap over obstacles barring
So it
my
is
path.
Castlevania.
The guise of the wolf brings with it its
This may have
own
come out. When did
magic.
Castlevania come out? That was like 97. This may have actually come out
I
before
don't know.
Castlevania.
Let me find out.
Yeah, check it. Look up real quick. He turned into a wolf. A wolf.
Castlevania was 1997, March 20th, 1997.
I should be able to jump. Why can't I jump? How do I jump?
Yeah, this game came out before Castlevania by about 5 months. So, Symphony of the Night, 8th. Legacy Kain.
I mean, vampires turning into different animals is, I mean, that's just like classic vampire fiction. I don't think anybody really has a claim to that. I'm not sure why I can't jump. I should be able to get over these spikes though.
Oh, you turned into a werewolf?
Yeah.
I thought you were just like a normal wolf.
Now,
Are you stuck now?
I'm stuck now. I should be able to get out of here with the wolf form, but...
I think now is a good time to see what happens when you starve of blood.
Alright, I'll just run into these spikes until I die and then call it a night. Well, my dark heart will activate, I think.
The heart of darkness.
Yeah, I'll have to do it a couple more times. I should be able to jump over that. I don't know how to do it. Poverty Game Night says, Dennis Dyack, A History of Amazing Decisions. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man. You know, this game is a PlayStation classic, even if it doesn't hold up so well these days, and Eternal Darkness is one of the best games of its era, and having played a bunch of that last year,
The heart of darkness.
I think that game holds up really well. But yeah, let's... I can't... Oh, whatever. I could turn into a bat, I guess, and get out of here. I think there's a weird cutscene that happens when you die. Oh, you...
Stream's a little behind.
You have perished.
Oh. That was worth it.
Alright.
Well.
Well, that's Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. I don't know. I don't think I'm prepared to play through all that again, but
You should have got a screen grab of that just to make that the starting image for all the streams.
there's definitely there's still something to this game. Even 11 years later, there's still the vocal performances and stuff. Poverty Game says, how are his teeth cleaner than the rest of his bones? You gotta brush, man. Especially when you're a fucking vampire, you gotta take good care of your teeth. You gotta go to the dentist every 6 months and brush every morning and every night before you go to, or every morning before you go to bed and every night when you get up. Get rid of that plaque. All right, that's it. I'm done for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow maybe for something. I think my brother and my dad's birthday is next week, so we might be going to see the new Blade Runner movie. So I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow or not, but good night. We'll talk to you on Monday if nothing else. I think Joe and I are planning to stream the original D next week, so I might have him Sherpa me through that, and we'll see if we can blaze through it in an hour and a half, because I think that game's pretty short. But, all right. Goodbye.
Good night.